So we finally got it. We got the TicWatch Pro 3. And I'm really excited about this because this is the first Android Wear OS watch that uses the new Qualcomm processor. And this is pretty much the main reason why I got this smartwatch, because I've reviewed many different Wear OS watches in the past, and I've been a big fan of Google's system, Wear OS system. However, they've been so god darn slow. And especially when they only come with less than 512 megs of RAM. Thankfully, this one has 1 gig of RAM, but I really wish they had 2 gigs or 1.5 gigs. I think that would really help have multiple apps and keep things really smooth and future-proof this device, but you can't get everything you want. So I'm very happy about the 4100 Snapdragon Wear OS. Now, with the previous chips, yes, you could have been upgraded to the 3100 from the previous 2100, but funny enough, the 3100 was not a substantial upgrade, as I done in my Fossil Sport review, which sported the 3100 chip. It was actually performing at the same speeds as the 2100, but it did have some extra processors to process the ambient always-on display, so that wasn't really actually a raw upgrade in speed. Now this one actually has a raw upgrade in speed, and I'm really hoping that with the increased RAM and the actual CPU, this is going to make Wear OS actually bearable, usable, because every time I want to summon my Google Assistant, which is the main reason why I want to get a Wear OS watch, it was just so slow. It was absolutely unusable. I could not recommend anyone use a Wear OS until hopefully now. Although the first two questions we want to answer is this speed upgrade actually worth it? This is what the video is purposed to do. So if you're interested in it, I definitely recommend continue watching it. So I've been searching for the perfect smartwatch, and the best so far has been this Vivo Active 4S. Now the Vivo Active 4S is fantastic because it does a lot of what Wear OS does, except there's some things that I'm really missing. One is the Google Assistant. It doesn't have any smart assistant. So this is something that I really need in any type of smartwatch. But on top of that, one thing that I really do want is SpO2 tracking, because I have a condition called sleep apnea where I stop breathing throughout the night. So it's really important for me to monitor my condition. With the SpO2 tracking, most new watches, like say the Galaxy Watch or the new iOS watch, they don't actually track this throughout the night. They only do a spot reading. And this is absolutely useless. This is like a marketing feature, and I'm really upset with all the hype and marketing around the SpO2 on these watches. What we really care about is continuous SpO2 tracking throughout your night. And I really hope that this watch, the TicWatch Pro 3, actually delivers on this, because if it doesn't, I don't think I can keep this, because it's not going to satisfy all the constraints, all the conditions I need for a smartwatch. Now, I want to give you my full disclosure. A lot of the reviews out there, they got a pre-release version of this smartwatch. I actually went out and I bought this with my own money. So this is not going to be any biased review. I'm not, paid to make anything, or I'm not giving this for free. I actually paid for this with my own money. So I'm going to give my pure unbiased opinion. And one of the things that I really was upset with most of the reviewers, or the people who got the free watch or got paid to do this review, they didn't really report on this. They kind of said, oh, it has SpO2 tracking, but they don't go into detail. So this is something that I also want to answer in this video. So the two things I want to answer in this video is the speed upgrade with the 41 Qualcomm Snapdragon Wear CPU actually worth it? And does this track continuous SpO2 throughout the night? Okay. So once we test those two things, I think I'm going to come to my conclusion whether I can recommend this or not. I will be posting a full video review of this to go in depth, but there's not much more to cover. I mean, other things that I want to cover probably is, how does it feel? Is it thinner? Is it lighter? Part of the reason why I like this actual Vivo Active 4S is because it's so thin and so light, you barely know it, you're wearing it. With Wear OS watches in the past, they've been so heavy, so clunky. So I'm really hoping that this watch, they said it's a little bit thinner and lighter. I really hope that it actually fits on my wrist nicely, and I hope that I'm not annoyed wearing this throughout the night. Okay, so let's stop talking. Let's actually unbox this, and then we're going to charge it and we're going to test it, and I'm going to give my first impressions in terms of the speed, the feel and comfort of the watch, and of course the SpO2 tracking throughout the night. Hopefully it actually does that. And we'll also compare it with my other SpO2 trackers. Oh, and one really big thing that I'm going to be really happy about coming from a Garmin smartwatch such as the Vivo Active 4S is that I was really missing the speaker and mic support. So not only not having the Google Assistant was a big downer on having this type of watch, the Vivo Active 4S, not having a speaker or a microphone to actually perform, quick replies or actually hear the response without having to look at your watch all the time. This was extremely important for me. So I think this might be the closest thing to perfection in terms of a smartwatch. So let's get right into it. Okay, wow. So this is actually really big. Okay. So compared to my Vivo Active 4S, it's almost night and day. I really hope I can actually wear this because, yes, it does look manlier and bigger and more masculine and whatnot. This was actually really tiny. Look at the difference in that. So, okay, so right off the bat, I'm a little concerned. I do know that this is actually weighed at 41 grams, this one here, and this one is also about 40 grams. So in terms of the lightness, that's also another key factor, but also the bulkiness of this, how big it is on my wrist, it might really annoy me throughout the sleep. So I don't know if I can actually use this as my daily driver. I kind of wish they made a more compact version. I really like what Garmin has been doing by making a Vivo Active 4S and like the smaller version and then the bigger version. And you can see it was delivered today. Pretty amazing. You can see that it was delivered today by DHL, straight from China. It came really fast. I put in the order as soon as the announcement was made, as soon as the online orders were available. Got here like in 2 to 3 business days all the way to Canada, which is very impressive. Okay, so let's continue unboxing this here. Okay, so I like the strap so far. It seems really nice and cool. So we got instruction manual here. Now all Wear OS watches are very similar, so we've kind of seen what it's like. I've done so many reviews of Wear OS watches, so I don't think it's necessary to do a full in-depth review about it. It's really about the hardware at this point, because at this point we just need performance, we need good comfort, and we need the special features that only TicWatch has apparently done. This is not a native feature from Google or anything like that. It's a TicWatch specific feature in terms of providing the SpO2 tracking. Okay, so very interesting. Let's take this off. So you got 2 buttons here. They rotate. They feel pretty clicky. Okay, now you can see all the fancy sensors. This is the key thing here. You can see there is a bulge, very similar to the Vivo Active 4S, kind of right here. But they have 4 and then the middle sensor here. So kind of like 5 sensors in total, whereas the Vivo Active 4S has kind of like 4. You know, one thing I really like about this is that there's no groove. There's no like nooks and crannies inside the actual sensor. Whereas here in the Vivo Active 4S there is, and that can actually build up a lot of dirt and grease and bacteria buildup. I've actually been getting rashes on my wrist, so I have to clean this routinely, and that has really helped with preventing any rashes on my wrist. But this does attract a lot of dirt sometimes, and it can be really cumbersome to clean. So you kind of have to get a sharp toothpick to kind of clean out this at least is going to be more hygienic, hopefully. You can see the quick release straps over here. Very cool. Now I believe this is not leather. I think this is a silicone. It does look like leather. It's kind of cool, but I really like that, because I don't think having a leather strap would be beneficial, because you want to take this to the sports. You know, Wear OS has one of the best gym strength training tracking apps out there, natively built in. So you want to take it to the gym. Feels really light. I just want to, yeah, they feel about the same. Now I do think that 41 grams does not include the strap, so it's probably like 60 grams with the straps. I think with the Garmin Vivo Active 4S, they include the strap. So overall, I do think this is going to be net a lot heavier on your wrist. This is ginormous. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm kind of concerned, guys. Although it probably looks better on my wrist. Okay, so it's on my wrist. It feels actually pretty nice. I think I can get used to it. It feels pretty light. You can see the massive speaker in here. Let me move the light. You can see that massive speaker hole there, or maybe that's the microphone. This is waterproof, so nothing's going to get into your microphone hole, hopefully. So okay, we're going to charge this up, and then I'm going to give my first impressions on terms of the speed. Guys, I really hope this is going to be a fast watch. I really hope I'm not disappointed. I hope I don't have to like sell this, because I want this to be my daily driver. I really want to switch back to Wear OS. Okay, so let's go ahead and charge this. I think it just hooks onto some magnets. Very nicely like that, very easy. Okay, so after having everything set up on the Wear OS app and syncing all my account information to the smartwatch, I was finally answer the questions. Now there's some good news, and there's some really bad news. And the bad news, I'm afraid, is going to probably take away all the good news. So the good news is that in terms of the comfort, I found that the smartwatch, the TicWatch 3, was very comfortable on my wrist. Even that it has a large display, which I really do appreciate. I really appreciate the huge 1.39 inch AMOLED display. It looks beautiful, crisp, very easy to read text. It is large on my wrist, but I was able to wear it with no issues. I did find it thin enough and comfortable enough to wear throughout the entire night's sleep, and it didn't really bother me day to day. So comfort is a big win.
Now, the second big win, and another piece of the good news, is that the performance of the Qualcomm 4100 Wear Snapdragon processor is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, everything is buttery smooth. The animations are so crisp and so smooth. Opening apps have never been more fast on Wear OS than today. I'm just generally very impressed with the raw CPU performance of the new chip. And I'm very happy that Wear OS is finally up to par with, let's say, the Apple Watches out there. Being able to summon my Google Assistant without any lag, and it quickly reacts, records my audio, transcode it to the cloud, and then play back a response is phenomenal. The speeds are fantastic, and this is what I expect from day one of Wear OS. But unfortunately, it took us so long for Qualcomm to get their act together and finally develop a chip that is fast enough that competes with other watches out there, such as the Galaxy Watch and the Apple Watch. Now, in terms of the SpO2 tracking, there's some good news, bad news, kind of mediocre news. It doesn't track continuously, and this is because it would take a lot of the battery. Now, this is there's a big CPU, there's also a big screen. I understand that they had to make limitations to the SpO2 tracking. It can't continuously track every minute, or the resolution of the data is very coarse. It can only track every 1 hour. So that is a little bit of a disappointment, but I was kind of not expecting that. I'm still very grateful that Wear OS and TicWatch have created a smartwatch that can still track SpO2 continuously for 24 hours throughout the sleep. One thing I wish they did instead was, instead of tracking your entire 24-hour period, I would have much preferred to have more fine resolution, so more sampling of your SpO2 throughout the night, only during your sleep. I don't really see the benefit in having SpO2 tracking throughout the day, because if you're awake, you're alive, you're probably breathing fine. It's really about sleep conditions and trying to get more insight into your sleep. So I really hope that TicWatch can listen to this video and that they tweak their software so that we can get more fine-grained resolution data in terms of our SpO2 tracking throughout the night. This makes it really hard to switch over from the Vivo Active 4S, to be honest, but I still think this is still a big win, and a big win for the Wear OS community.
So as I was reviewing and tinkering with my new TicWatch Pro 3, I noticed some really big deficiencies in terms of the Google Assistant support. Now, I know this may not be a TicWatch related specific issue because they just provide the hardware. It's obviously Google who provides the Wear OS operating system. I'm fully aware of that, and I know that I really hope that Mobvoi, the hardware manufacturer of this, will maybe push Google towards a better solution, because there are some real big issues with the Google Assistant. Now, the first thing I noticed was that I was actually on English on my phone in terms of my language, but I was on English Canada because I'm based in Canada, unfortunately. I'm not based in the United States. So what I noticed, that if you are based in a different language other than English United States, what ends up happening is that your Google Assistant is severely, basically doesn't work for most interesting features. For example, I wasn't able to set reminders. What would happen is I set a reminder, it would try to save, and then it would show this kind of a cloud sad face icon saying that my phone is disconnected. Another issue I experienced was that every time I tried to initiate a phone call and say, call Philip, for example, in response, it would show this screen, kind of very cryptic screen saying, kind of open up your phone, and then it would say, you don't have permissions to do this. This was the same case when trying to initiate with the Google Assistant an SMS text. Let's say, text my friend this message. And what would happen, it would show the screen, and then obviously no permissions would work. So nothing was working. One of the main reasons why I got the TicWatch 3 was to leverage the speakers they provided. I like to speak to it, and then when the assistant responds back, I don't really have to look at the screen. I can just say blah, 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 and then it would respond back with the speakers. That feature, the speech output of the Google Assistant, was not working when I was on Canada English setting on my Samsung S20, running the latest version of Android OS. So there are many deficiencies with the Google Assistant, which made me really, really depressed about my recent purchase. This is a very expensive smartwatch. I expect these features to work out of the box. So I made a video about this. I posted on Reddit. I asked Mobvoi support. They haven't responded to me yet. A little disappointing on that. But thankfully, someone on the YouTube comments suggested, hey, why don't you switch your language to English USA instead of Canada or whatever. And I did remember many years ago when I had Wear OS, or maybe a year ago, I had to do the same thing, but I totally forgot because I switched my phone to the S20 and I probably forgot to switch it back to the US more superior English. That solved a lot of issues. I was able to set reminders. I was able to hear the voice assistant as I spoke to it. Set a reminder in 30 minutes to eat some chocolate.
Okay, I'll remind you at 2:28
it showed a different UI sometimes for the Google Assistant. So clearly Google has some weird bug where based on if you use this specific language, it'll show you this version of the Google Assistant. And if you use the more superior language, USA English, it's going to give you a more full-fledged experience. Like for example, I wasn't able to interact with my home lights, but now I can be like, turn off all the lights. And it would actually turn off all the lights. This is only available if you're on USA English. This whole fiasco could have been avoided if they simply stated, in order to use the full power of Google Assistant, make sure your language is set to USA English, for example. They didn't do that, so it caused users, other users not based in the US, let's say Canada or international, they're going to face a lot of issues and maybe they'll be really disappointed. So I hope that they watch this video and get a better understanding on how, unfortunately, a lot of the bugs and a lot of issues with Wear OS can be caused if you don't have your phone set on the right language. Now, there are still some issues that are still really affect me, and I'm really disappointed despite fixing most of the issues by switching to the USA English. One is that I still can't send a text. What ends up happening is I try to send a text, it'll go through the process of sending it, but then it would say, oh, cannot connect to the phone. It would show the dreaded cloud icon with the sad face. Text Marcy, this is a test. Other similar issues where that dreaded sad face cloud appears, the broken disconnection. It appears sometimes when I try to make a query into the Google Assistant for a nearby location for a store. I tap on it and it just fails.
I found a few locations for nearby theaters near you.
In terms of the other deficiencies like the hot word detection and unable to send SMS text, apparently this is a widespread issue that other people are experiencing, not just TicWatch owners. I really do hope that Mobvoi, by voicing my opinion about this, will push Google to do it, because if many users can't do it, at least maybe a large company can push Google's engineers to fix these dreaded issues that I think it's a terrible shame. Why do they have this operating system if they just simply can't support basic features that are supposed to work out of the box?
So in conclusion, I have to say the TicWatch Pro 3 is an amazing upgrade in terms of the raw CPU performance. I really love the design. I slept with it for a couple nights and I found it very comfortable on my wrist. So the larger size, especially compared to my smaller Vivo Active 4S, was no problem. And I really like that it has a silicone 22mm strap. I found it very comfortable. Now, obviously I had that huge fiasco with the whole Canada English versus US English, which literally prevented Google Assistant from actually working properly. Thanks to a comment on YouTube, I was able to switch it to the USA setting, which provided more features into the Google Assistant that actually worked. However, there are some deficiencies like the OK Google hot word detection does not work. And of course, sending an SMS text doesn't work. So especially during the time of the pandemic, I would like to be able to use hands-free, not have to touch the device. If I touch the dirty doorknob, I don't want to touch my watch. I just want to say, the hot word, okay Google, and then text somebody. It would be nice if that works. So once that works, I'm going to say this is a full recommendation, but until then, I'm going to say be wary. There are some Wear OS issues. Sometimes it will glitch out. Sometimes it'll be disconnected, as you can see in the screenshot right here. But all in all, fantastic upgrade, and this is definitely what something Wear OS needed. Thanks for watching this video. I'll be posting a more in-depth review of this smartwatch, so stay tuned and definitely subscribe to this channel.